I am Danielle Moinet, and you are joining us for a great conversation today. You know, post-pandemic, a lot has changed in the workforce, a lot of concentration around health and wellness, and something called a smart cities we're going to find out about today. And we have two amazing guests here. The first man maybe needs no introduction with his group, but his name is Ken Discipio, and he is with the Tavistock Group. He leads strategic relationships and business developments for smart cities, which we are going to talk a lot about today because they're very interesting. And he also works on a primary project called Lake Nona, which is in Orlando, Florida, the home of Disney World. Hello, Ken.
Hi, Danielle. How are you?
Doing good. And then also down here, we have the lovely, beautiful Wioletta Garbicz. And though she also has a big passion for health and wellness, of course, she is a biomedical engineer, and she has worked for major big companies like Roche, Fujifilm. She is super excited to be here as well. Hello, Wioletta.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Hi, Danielle, and hi, Ken.
Hey, Wioletta, how are you?
Look at us on Zoom in different parts of the world, just like we're right now.
Exactly.
Who would have thought about smart cities, smart technology? Ken, we're just going to jump right in, and I need you to tell me what a smart city is, because
sure, absolutely.
I know because of you, but I'll tell you what, I knew nothing about this until I sat down with Ken and for like 20 hours straight and talked about smart cities. So why don't you tell us about that?
And here we are back again, and
here we are.
So the conversation never stops. But thanks for having me. So look, if I had to sum it up, what a smart city is, it's really using interconnected technology, data to have better outcomes, right? So all of a sudden, we're looking at how do we connect between there's people that live in these communities, there's people that work in these communities, people that visit these communities, such as Lake Nona, where I spend my time. And it's how do we make their life better, right? How do we make people more productive? How do we make them healthier? And then the companies that there, how do we make those employees better performance and more efficient? So it's really about incorporating good things, primarily around data and technology, for these better outcomes and being the best version of yourself, right? Whether you're a student, you're an athlete, you're a professional, and also thinking about yourself as an individual.
For sure. And with better health and better outcomes, you also have higher productivity. There's a direct correlation between health and wellness and productivity in the workplace. I know Wioletta was telling us some really interesting things about that as well, weren't you?
Yes, exactly. Like Ken, I think that you touched here like a very important and crucial issue, like the connection between health and being more productive, because it's going very well with the well-being. And we hear a lot like well-being, a very trendy word, but what does it really mean? So it simply means our satisfaction, ours, the human being, like with our physical, like mental and society state of our own life. And it's always been known that the health, that the well-being of employees are very important. And last time I was checking also like ICON researches, and it showed that the trends in companies is very increasing in case of being aware that using the trend of caring for the health for employees is very important and crucial. Like the companies now are focusing on the several projects on the well-being, which covers health psychology, body work, and of course, my favorite, so adequate nutrition.
Yeah, and Wioletta, when you go through that and you talk about that, from the other perspective, as let's say the individual like myself managing people, and we have these individual organizations that we have invested in, and we look at it and say, as the employee gets healthier, they get more productive, right? And then if they get more productive, they feel that we care about them. They're efficient, but then it also makes it easier for us to recruit and retain those employees as well. And then you start to build this culture And I know that some of the work you've done in terms of creating these healthier environments throughout the workforce, the statistics or the results are very measurable, and that's what's effective for, as a company is, we need to measure those things, and it's been, tell us a little bit about, in terms of some of the things you're doing when you talk about well building and in building well building standards.
Yeah, definitely. So this is also the meaning, like why companies are becoming more and more aware. We know already that workplaces are one of the most convenient place to create a responsible and healthy lifestyle. Healthy employees will always perform, their duties better and with greater commitment. It also shows very good, as you say, to those researchers that the working market has changed a little bit when the Y generation came, to started to work. So it has been changed how people perspective is changing about what office actually is. So the representatives of Y generation, which are very flexible, adventurous and such, who I am also a proud representative of Y generation. We always will be very happy to be in a place that all those arrangements create and salutate our individualism and unconventional solutions.
Yeah,
So
I mean, the interesting thing about, we had a long discussion about Y generation. I think I'm in between the two of you guys. You got Y generation.
Hey, don't date me, please.
Yeah, Y generation. I'm dating myself here. Y generation. And what are you guys? I don't even know what I am. But it's interesting because this newer era of Google and .com and I went to Instagram headquarters last year, pre-pandemic in New York, and it's so interesting. They have virtual reality room, and then they have the most amazing catering and food, and then they have the little pods to take a nap and all this stuff. And for me, I would rather knock out the work and get it done and then go to bed early, but I never go to bed early.
Yeah.
To be honest. And so Ken, also, you probably find yourself in that area too, but then there's so many people that are no, I'd rather take a nap. How nice of my company to even giving me a napping pod. They must really care about me. No GMO food in the food area. No sodas are allowed, which Ken has done in incubating with Smart City. So it's this very interesting concept where I see both perspectives, but I don't know. I get why it's good, but I don't.
Yeah,
really
yeah, and it's really interesting. And again, we've spent so much time talking about this as a group and in person too, and it's really interesting because there are different generations and how those generations interact.
Mm-hmm.
One of the conversations we had that was really neat was about, you take one generation that's get in there by 7 a.m., work hard, stay till 7 o'clock at night. And what's happened is the younger generation that has been very effective. Some of the older generation has looked at that and said, "Hey, they're lazy. They don't come until 10 o'clock, and they're taking more breaks." But what's happened is we are seeing a lot of these trends with these younger generations that these trends have come out of how they went to college, right? If you get up and you're a morning person, you take early morning classes. If you're not, you take late morning classes. And
right.
So what we're seeing is that people are adopting to their natural clock, and we're seeing the results are very good, right? So you look at, and what it's done is, I think, we're 10 years into this now, right? We're 10 years into these workplace standards and this different culture of how people are going to work. And I think people have kind of learned that just because someone goes to a sleeping pod and takes a nap, they're not lazy. They might be the best programmer we have, right? Yeah. But you have to look and say, people need to work at their own pace. You mentioned in there in terms of there are a lot of things around this that are happening. And it's not just about sort of sleeping pods and the time you work, but it's also how you work, right? And so we've done a lot in terms of Lake Nona around the residents at Lake Nona and how they interact and what they do, and what we can do to actually make them more effective. And then on the flip side, you look at the office environment. We look at same thing. You know, how do people work? How do they act in the office? What's really neat, you know, Wioletta, when we've had these discussions talking about these changes in the office, you know, you've had some great points of things that you've done when you were you know, working with the organizations you came from. And we've incorporated a lot of things you've done, but, you know, maybe you could go through some of those things, and I'll add to our experience as well.
Yeah, those are really incorporated, like great facilities, as I said about this generation and such. Sometimes as you said previously, it can be also a magnet, and the employers has to be like very aware that
Yep.
it can be a magnet for the future staff, and they will be more effective, and they will be you know, like more, they will want to work in the place and connect with the place for a longer time. For example, like I was working in a huge company that it was mentioned already, and we had that kind of facilities, like a meditation room, or a room with the swings to gather with people, like or relaxation room. And this room of relaxation is kind of the place that the employee, who is all the time like with the laptop working, phones and mailings and Excel and such, the employee can go out, like disconnect from this work, go to the room, which is very important that it will not resemble the workspace, and just disconnect. And this airing of brain, I would say so, has very like soothing effect and builds the creativity. And what we had actually a room with the PlayStation. So as long as employees will not, you know, like get involved too much into playing and games and forget about work, they will for sure like disconnect a little bit, be in other words, and you know, like it really increased the creativity.
Yeah.
So
It's
it was
interesting about
really,
it's interesting about like the relaxation room, because I'm thinking about it when you're telling me, and to get paid to relax, I need someone to force me to relax, like as an entrepreneur. And I think as also Y generation, no one has one job. Like Ken has like 40 jobs, I have like 20. So it's like when I go home to relax, I'm still working. Like I have to right now do like 3 shoots, like all this stuff, and I'm gonna turn the TV on, but I'm not listening to the TV. So I am very interested listening to you talk about this. If someone actually did, like the word disconnect, like I feel like you were my mom just now, because like my mom's always said that to me. But if someone like forced me to disconnect and put my phone away from me for 30 minutes, which like gives me anxiety just like thinking about that, and I went in a pod, I wonder how my productivity would increase. Like that is, I definitely think there's a correlation between productivity and creativity, but like I never do that. I say I'm going to do it when I get home. I'll even go get I'm in New York right now. I'll go get a foot rub and I'll be on my phone. I don't get a massage. I get a foot rub because I can still be on my phone and do the emails. So like, that's very interesting to me.
Well, but what you just said is it is interesting, because that's why we're all different, right? And that's why we all have to figure out the environment we work best in. Is it an environment where we show up in the office and we sit at a cubicle, or is it an environment we show up in the office and we're in common space, which is more relaxed and it's a couch environment, or we're sitting outside? Or is it an environment where we telecommute, we work from home, we continue to work from home? And I think what's happening now during coming out of COVID, and hopefully we're not staying too long in this next phase of it, but what's happening is it gives companies and organizations the ability to incorporate this new way of working, right? We've proven through COVID that we can work, and the workforce is very nimble, and we can work in different environments. And there might be people that stay home and they continue to work from home. And there might be people that say, go to the office, you know, and I'm one of these people. I love going to meetings. I absolutely love going to meetings. But what I don't like to do is sit, you know, sort of in a cubicle or an office environment in a chair. I sort of like to, you know, sit at a table, like a high top table, and have a coffee there, and sort of, you know, really sort of do my thing. And I think this opportunity for us now is giving companies, it's giving us the opportunity to retool what we do.
For sure.
But we also need to shed those bad habits.
Right.
to also share with you once we are talking right now, because I incorporated like one thing that I recently was reading, like some kind of research was taken. And it's also proven, of course, that the highest productivity can be achieved when you, while working, you also allow yourself to have a little bit short and break. This is Danielle, what you were saying. So it hit me when I read that the highest productivity you will achieve when you will work like straight 52 minutes.
Yeah.
And then you allow yourself like long 17 minutes of pleasure. So you rest. And it's proven, and it's research is made by Dragon Group like a few years back. And I really incorporated that. And I see some results, like positive results.
For sure. I remember when you told me that, and I really do want to try that because I've been with me and jobs and careers. I'm I'm never home. Like I'll be gone for a 16-hour day and it's meetings and everywhere. So the days that I can be home and do my Zooms, like I do all my Zooms back to back. So I'm like, oh, I can sit emails. I feel so productive, even if it's just 4 hours, because I never sit for 4 hours. So like Ken said, like, I would hate to be in a desk, but I do enjoy that. So I would love to try the 52-minute. You should you need to coin that and like put that on. That's genius. Something else that we all were talking about post-pandemic that's very interesting is now it's almost trendy health and wellness in the workplace and corporation, which God bless, like that's an amazing trend to have. At least, it's not my parents' trend, which was like, don't even make it home for dinner with your family. So this health and wellness, obviously because of COVID and being hyper aware of that is definitely, with Ken, helped create smart cities and people wanting to give their information. And here's my medical records, which still blows my mom's mind when I tell her about smart cities. She's like, I can't believe people just give their info. I'm like, they want to better the life, they want to better our future. But the interesting thing is it's almost created new jobs, right, Wioletta? Like it's almost created these jobs where it's the health and wellness person that can come in and revamp your organization. Show me what you've done. Oh, you have soda machines? Like this isn't 1992. Take those out, put a juice in. So it's very interesting if people are sitting at home and watching this and they're like thinking, yeah, these people are right. Like, how can I incorporate it? There's almost these new jobs, right?
Exactly. This is what I am also doing. Actually, you go to corporate and you focus. And I said to you, like projects, this healthy lifestyle and well-being has several programs, like both body health, like also adequate nutrition. So as you said, you go into, you see like what snacks, for example, do the employees have? Like they snack like chocolate bar. It's not good because then we are working with the employers, and for example, they will provide to the employees like boxes of fruits or veggies. So it's better to take a carrot or better to take an apple. This is or instead of gathering place like what is very also traditional, going to take a coffee, one coffee, two coffee, up after until the day at the end of the day, you finish with the 5 cups of coffee or something like that. You can also gather with the places, with the distributor of water, because water is so crucial and it will help you definitely. And also some kind of routines that people can't sit all the time in front of the desks. It's even when you move, when your body is circulating, your substances in your body, it's also revealing that it will help you even with your productivity, with your motivation and such many stuff. Also, Ken, you are also very familiar with the sit stand up desks, right?
Sure, the standing desk.
Not,
Yeah.
you've heard also for sure like the saying that sitting is a new smoking right now. So sitting all the time is so bad because it's for like from one side, let's say like bones, like our skeletal and muscles, they will get pain, but also obesity and everything. It's so connected, metabolism. So like it's also good to see that why your employees, for example, don't have possibility to spend like 2 hours a day and still work. You have like this height adjustable tables. So it's so many things that you go and you see how much you can help actually employees, but at the end, employers, because happy employee, it's happy employer. And so it's always like that.
And you covered a lot of ground there. What's interesting is that by doing these things, you're also reducing sick days, right? So you could, there's a way to sort of link it back to, there's a financial benefit as well. But I want to jump back in terms of something Wioletta said. You know, when you talk about, you know, changing people's habits at the office, we incorporate a lot of these things, these wellness habits, and you know, it was really just taking some of the sweet drinks, the sodas out, saying, hey, you can bring your own, but we're just not going to provide you with those drinks. And then changing some of the you know, the cookies and things that people, you know, we laugh about this. We talked about this before, is the number one thing that people snack on in the office is Girl Scout cookies, because they put them in their desk. They're snacking on them during the day. And people start to eat because they're bored or they're frustrated.
Oh yeah, the pandemic, all of the pandemic, everyone baked banana bread since
it's
when?
Kind of like the freshman 25, right?
Yeah.
It was a pandemic 30, right? So, but by changing these habits, you get people to stand up, you get them to walk, so they're doing more steps, they're standing up. But the one thing that you can link back here is you're also building culture by getting people to go to a common area to eat and feel that they should get up and move. You're sending them to a common place and they get to know each other better. And if you think about those 5 pillars I talked about, you know, the productivity, the efficiencies, the recruiting, the retention, and the culture building, you're making people healthier, but you're making them in a mental capacity healthier as well, because they're bonding and there's creativity that's happening there too.
It's an introvert's nightmare. Remind me to never work at any places like this. When Ken first started telling me about smart cities and how he creates community by having the homes closer to each other, there's no garages in the back, you can only come in the front door, so it makes you want to wave to your neighbor, and the restaurants and everything, I was like, wow, I just want to never see my neighbors. I run in my house, I'm like, wear a hat, I'm like, please don't. But then I'm so nice because I just get to talking to them.
But Danielle, where did you grow up? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in North Carolina, and we are very nice and sweet and Southern, and we want to talk all the time.
Yeah.
So I think really it's just because I'm like gonna talk to them for 30 minutes. So I'm actually a very nice person.
And
like,
you're from a big city as well. And I think when you look back at these studies, and part of Lake Nona is based on going back in time when cities in America were healthier, right? The 70s, the United States peaked at their healthiest peak, where cities are healthier. And it was because people stayed closer to where they grew up. They didn't go so far away for college. The homes were closer together. And so we took a lot of those sort of those fundamental characteristics of these cities. And within Lake Nona, we created this area called Laureate Park, where yes, the homes are closer together. There's a lot of open space, a lot of common space that encourages gathering. But you also look at the homes are closer to the sidewalk. What does that do? It allows me, as I'm walking down the sidewalk, walking my dog, to talk to my neighbor in a normal speaking voice. So I'm going to have a more intimate conversation. The homes all have front patio decks with furniture and glass doors. It allows people to sit out on their patio, get to know their neighbors, have these places to gather. So what you're doing is you're creating a community where people don't feel lonely, right? So you think about everyone at Lake Nona is fairly new, right? It didn't exist if you go back 10 years ago. So you've got to create a place where people feel like they know each other. And that's the biggest problem in America, is really mental health, loneliness. Because people move around, they get transferred.
Or just with COVID, loneliness.
Yeah, or with COVID, yeah. And so what we've done is we've tried to experiment with these little areas of Lake Nona, and we try things out. We have a park that is, we have over 1,000 events a year in that park, right? So you start thinking about what's the benefit, what's the feature, and what's the end result. You know, what happens is people gather and they get to know their neighbors, they get to know the community. They're not as lonely. So again, I have to relate that back to the office. So they're more productive when they go back to the office. We talked about sleep. 68% of America doesn't get a proper night's sleep.
Right.
And so when you start looking at what's the effect on the productivity of that person in the workforce, they're an hour and a half less productive in the morning. So you start thinking about, well, do I really want that person that's not productive until 10 o'clock to come in at 7 o'clock after they didn't get a good night's sleep as well? So you start putting these pieces together, it's resulting in a healthier workforce. And Violetta, you have great stories, and you're always great about talking about. Looking at me, the prime example. I was up at 3 a.m. and I went to bed at 11. So I'm the prime example of this.
Yeah. But also we work very well like that. Like Ted and I are always messaging.
But I think we do. I think we do.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, what are we sacrificing by doing that? And I often since we started these conversations a couple months ago, I've really made an effort to start trying to sleep more, but also have changed my diet based on you two. The two of you, are vegan, and so I've changed my diet, and I've had a lot of good results, right? And I think that has helped me both in a personal life, but in my work environment as well.
For sure. And I think just being around people like that, like, for example, like creating community in the workplace, like how Wioletta said, like if you have a break room and you're forced to socialize for 30 minutes, it's like you just hanging around us. If you eat cheese and meat in front of me, I don't care. I'm like, I'm not forcing your hand. But just because you're around us and I'm talking about my hair won't stop growing, like I just went to the hair salon, my hair, you're like, wait, really? If I stop eating meat and cheese, my hair may grow? And so it's like, you just pick up on it. Like I've played sports my whole life, and the camaraderie you have when you're on the sports team and an athlete, you can't find that. Like it's a very interesting thing where it's an extension of your family, where even if you hate the person on your team, if anyone tries to start anything with them, you have their back because that's your teammate. So it's interesting at Lake Nona how you can create an amazing community where if it's stranger danger and you see something, you may call the cops, where if before it's like, well, I didn't see anything. Or how Wioletta said, working together and being able to eat healthy or see someone lose weight because they've done that. It's like a rewarding experience where you're creating that unity, and only good things can come from that from a CEO or COO perspective.
And I think, for people that may be watching this from my side, is you're probably the world's toughest woman out there being in the WWE. But, a lot of what you had to do to be effective was to take care of your body and eat healthy. And, and from a physical but from a physical standpoint, it's obvious when you have to work harder and do that. Yeah. So, but sometimes I think people forget is that it's just as important in an office setting or other settings to do those same things and adopt those same habits.
Mm-hmm. About the nutrition, you both know exactly, connected to my gluten-free diet, my pesco-vegan diet and such. I'm just huge supporter that people will get more and more aware that our intestines are the second brain, and it's not so far and distant relationship between those two, because the importance of good condition of microflora has also effects on mental condition. It can increase even depression. I told you, and you were very surprised, like 90% of serotonin is produced not in our brain, but in our intestines. So depends on what we eat, what we take, what pills we take, what we drink and such. It has a effect even that we will get into depression. So the tiredness, the sickness, the immune system low, it's everything is combined, and it's very crucial to understand that our body is like interconnected vessels, and imbalance in one will affect an imbalance in the second. Yeah. You know that I was diagnosed like 9 months to discover that gluten caused me insomnia, like bone and muscle pains. I had like terrible headache, and it's all, of course, when I went to my job, I felt bad. I felt like I couldn't stay focused. My memory was bad, like I was annoyed, and it's all about gluten, because it caused me all those effects. Once I stopped for 2 weeks, 2 weeks no eating, and Danielle sees already like her hair is growing better. I saw that I feel good. I have my energy back. So it's very important. And this is crucial. So think you said what we eat, we are what we eat. So.
But you both brought up great points, because when we spent some time together, I learned I thought I knew a lot. I was always an athlete, and I thought I knew a lot about, taking care of myself and what I need to eat. But that changes constantly, and so I learned a lot about in terms of what I should be eating at what times of the day. But also, you think about, most people really don't know what to eat. They don't know what to do. And then you think about Lake Nona, and you think about why these people are providing us with information about their exercise habits, their eating habits, and their biometrics, their wearable information, and in some cases their complete medical records that are HIPAA compliant, and it's held in an organization that is able to study the data. The reason they do it is so that in return they can learn about how to be healthier. And I think that's the end result, right? When you have 72% of your residents providing us that information,
yeah,
you're sort of looking at the other, X% saying, 28% saying, what's wrong with you? Like, it truly, there are benefits that reflect back. And so we're this living laboratory of lots of different things happening. There's in a couple of years, you're going to see flying passenger drones. And today we've got tremendous, in terms of fiber network and 5G and autonomous shuttles, the largest autonomous shuttle program in the country. And I think that's why people are just like, they can't get enough of this technology and the data, but they're getting overwhelmed. They're saying, well, how do we use it? How does it make our life better? And that's why you're seeing these smart cities are becoming these clusters of where people want to live and work.
Yeah. And it's very interesting, I guess, just like seeing the world turn to that way, because it's such a positive thing. I feel like every generation, it's like my generation was like internet, phone, fast food, eating. And now this younger generation is like, you don't recycle, gross. Yeah. And that's amazing. I'm so happy that we're coming back.
But they're leaving their stamp, they're leaving a good stamp on what we can all do, right? Everyone just keeps layering on, something you need to be aware of. And that's, you mentioned the fast food, and, I don't know, when I was younger, God, we were convinced that fast food wasn't that bad for you. And then you hear these doctors talk about it, and it is horrible for you. But, but you also look at, in terms of, we talked about this, we had this discussion, it takes small steps to become that sort of best version of yourself. I heard one of the doctors that was at Lake Nona made a comment that, if you eat fast food every day, it's going to take a big jump to get to the point where the two of you are at. But if you just reduce it by 1 day or 2 days a week, that's a tremendous benefit on your lifestyle and a tremendous benefit to your health and wellness.
And like Wioletta said,
that's why these small, these small steps you take that we learn from people as yourself are so beneficial to, what's happening in the world.
I tell people all the time, I said, just cut out soda. Like, people ask me all the time, what should I eat? What should I eat? And most people are very intimidated by diets, and they're like, I don't want to eat chicken and green beans. And I'm like, chicken and green beans, just stop drinking soda and stop drinking alcohol for 2 weeks. Like, you will drop 5 pounds. Because if I stopped doing that, I'd stay the same, because I live such a crazy healthy lifestyle. Same with Wioletta. So yeah, it's interesting. So especially being able to optimize your performance and being able to, as a company and an organization, be able to monetize off of the health and wellness of your employees. We have so much we can talk about between all three of us. And I know we've gone a little long today, but we're going to leave the comment section open for you guys. We would love to hear more, hear who's watching us, hear your thoughts on this. We'll put our personal, well, we won't put our personal information. Well, maybe you guys will, but we'll put our email, the best way to get in contact with us if you want to be able to hire Wioletta to come to your organization, to come to your company, have a makeover, put our social handles in there. And we just have so much more to talk about, you guys. I'm very excited to have more content.
We just, in a very nutshell, we just touched each topic, I feel like. So there's a lot of discuss, and definitely it will be a pleasure to meet again and talk with you guys.
like Danielle said, we've we've had 22 hours probably of conversations around this topic, and to do it in a half hour.
Each topic about nutrition only.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So we probably have a lot more to say, but I thank you for having me, and I look forward to more conversations with you both.
Thanks, guys.
Same from
Thank
my
you.
side. Thank you very much.